bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Thank you for joining us. If you've lived in the Bay Area, you know that we are susceptible to earthquakes, and we've suffered through some that have been quite severe. But there are people who are trying to minimize some of the effects of earthquakes that may be coming in the future. Chris Poland is here right now. He's a structural engineer, and your company is?
Degenkolb Engineers.
Okay, and the thing is that one of the things you were telling me about is retrofitting these buildings. If people, it's not only the people who are in the buildings, but neighbors. I mean, everyone is affected by a building that goes down. Yeah, what kind of retrofitting are we talking about?
Well, the retrofitting that's necessary is to improve San Francisco's ability to recover from a major earthquake. We know the major earthquakes are going to occur, and when they do, we've been building our buildings so that they'd be safe for many years, and most people are going to be safe in their buildings. The older buildings are a problem, but we have a problem with the city being able to recover. You know, what happens after 72 hours? How do we rebuild our city? And the retrofitting that's necessary needs to focus on the areas that are most needed to make that recovery successful.
Okay, I remember when I had a house in the city, we had to reinforce down in the basement, down the garage. It was empty up there, nothing else holding it up. And by law, I think we had to do that. This is the kind of thing you're talking about?
Yes, we are, though there are no laws in place yet to do it, but we need to have the buildings available, certain buildings available immediately after an earthquake, so that they're available for the emergency services, hospitals and police stations, city halls, all the functions, the emergency functions need to be able to operate. We also need to have our neighborhoods able to be put back together and usable within 30 to 60 days. People need to be able to move back into their homes. Their children need to go to school. We have to have the doctor's offices, the grocery stores available, so people can settle back into a new kind of normal life, and they can get back to work and put the city back together. The problem we have is much of our residential construction in San Francisco is not going to be reoccupiable after an earthquake, a major earthquake. Maybe 60,000 people will be homeless and need to find temporary shelter that could last for a couple of years.
Yeah, I have to say, Chris, a lot of people hearing this don't want to hear it. You know, 60 years, 20 years, that, you know, they figure it's not going to happen to them. But it does happen to people, doesn't it?
It does happen to people.
It's happened before, and it's going to...
It's happened before,
yeah.
It's going to happen again. It's going to happen in our lifetime. I think it's, me personally, I think it's something we just have to prepare for. We have to believe that it's going to happen and get about deciding what we're going to do to minimize the impact and make sure that we can recover. I think it's really important for everyone to understand what's going to happen to them, to their homes and their schools, their office buildings, what's going to happen in that big earthquake, and then what are they going to do to restore their life and to get back to business. Yeah,
okay. If I had a house and I wanted to do something to it and it needed some structural refitting, would that cost me a lot of money?
It depends on the house, but one of the good news items in San Francisco, if you can think of it as that, is that our most problematic housing in San Francisco are the apartment buildings with the open first floor, with all the garages and the restaurants and the things that populate our city. Oh, yeah. There's about 3,000 of those, and they need to have structural work done on the first floor, but it's really quite cost effective to put the beams and columns that are necessary or the walls.
Okay. The last Loma Prieta destroyed a good part of the marina. Fire, of course, came out of that. Are those the kind of buildings you're talking about? You said soft buildings, you said.
That's exactly right. Those, we call them the soft first-story buildings because there aren't enough walls down there. And so the building starts to vibrate. It vibrates about that, and then it tips off that first floor. And when it drops off, it ruptures the gas line, it starts fires, it injures or kills people. And the thing we need to do is to put the bracing in that first floor to keep those buildings standing straight up and down so they can protect the occupants and be reoccupied.
Yeah, of course the marina had the disadvantage also being on fill land, which liquefied at the same time.
It liquefied and it amplifies the motion, and the marina could feel the earthquake that was so far away.
Yeah, okay. Nice to have you here, Chris. Chris Poland's been our guest. He is a structural engineer. We're talking about the importance of retrofitting buildings. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks.